This is Group 3's data meeting number 5. During week 10, our group determined that our SMART goal was not met. We identified 2 instructional tactics that failed to sufficiently support our students in meeting our goals. We collaborated via Google Docs to analyze the persisting learning and instructional gaps and decided that we could continue our data action cycle to readdress our exploratory question. From there, we incorporated the steps for data meeting 6 to reevaluate our instructional tactics with the data action protocol and determine new strategies. We determined that the 2 failed tactics were appropriate, but were not sufficient by themselves to make students masters of answering text-based questions. Each lesson was a good launching point to determine which students needed more intense writing practice. Over the course of the week, our group split into pairs and transformed the 2 lessons that we felt would better provide results for our SMART goal. Each pair broke down the lesson and determined the shortfalls, but also used new strategies collected through research that supported the original model's instructional strategies to enhance these lessons. We determined that these strategies did not work by themselves, and then decided to continue with our data meeting action plan. With regards to the Nearpod lesson, focusing on text-based writing, the learning goals were not met. During the planning process, Jill and Lisa looked closely at the lesson and examined how it could be improved to help meet the needs of all students. After analyzing the lesson, students continued to struggle with text-based writing and using evidence from a text to support their writing. The Nearpod lesson details the steps for using evidence to support writing, but does not help students with grammar or mechanical errors, nor does it provide tips for organization. On the FSA writing rubric, students are graded on their organization, evidence, and elaboration of details and conventions. This Nearpod lesson only addresses one of those 3 grading factors. In addition, the Nearpod lesson does not differentiate learning for the students. If teachers use Nearpod in small group instruction, the teachers could tailor each Nearpod to the students' needs. In a diverse classroom, such as Lisa's, students need instruction that is tailored to their writing skills. For instance, an Edutopia article focuses on differentiation by making personal connections to writing. Students then are given the opportunity to write a personal narrative based on small moment, expanding the story by adding details regarding what happened, dialogue, and an ending. From an Edutopia article. By giving students the opportunity to write about their own life, the teacher is increasing intrinsic motivation and encouraging students to write. It is important to note that this Nearpod lesson is a great starting point for introducing text-based writing. However, it needs to be supported by outside resources and additional Nearpod lessons to improve students' writing. To supplement this Nearpod lesson, the teacher could provide other resources such as sentence starters, daily language review, warm-up activities, graphic organizers, and many more opportunities to write across content areas. According to Venables, teachers need to step out of their comfort zone and try something new or different to help students learn, even if that means introducing entirely new programs such as Nearpod. One of the last aspects that can be enhanced is the aspect of blended learning. The Nearpod lesson is a great example of 21st century learning. According to an article, Dela Cruz stated, students must be encouraged to use the capabilities technology affords them to develop rich, dynamic, forward-thinking presentations of their knowledge. This lesson encourages students to critically think about their writing. However, the entire lesson is online, without little support from the teacher in the classroom. By integrating Nearpod into whole group, small group, and/or individual work, the classroom can become blended with the use of online and in-person instruction. Nearpod should be a tool for teachers to use in their classroom to enhance instruction, but never replace the instruction in the classroom. Rachel and Karen reviewed the 6th grade STEM lesson on text-based writing through a study of cell phone triangulation. After close examination, they found a number of places where this lesson failed to support students in meeting our SMART goal. They then collaborated both with Google Docs and FaceTime to transform the lesson to better meet students' needs. The original lesson was planned for students to complete multiple reading, writing, and math activities in only 80 minutes. We concluded that this lesson could actually be made into an integrated science, math, and language arts unit. There were many great activities, but when we dove into what could be done with this lesson, we decided there were many things that could change. The introductory activity originally had only higher order thinking questions, and we added an open-ended higher order thinking question to help students practice writing short answers with evidence from the video. The Explore activity contained a classroom discussion about how cell phones can be used in a crime scene. We wanted to integrate technology and have students post their initial ideas about how cell phones could be used to help solve a crime scene on a Padlet to reference after watching the video. Having the Padlet activity also addresses multiple intelligences and learning styles. The Explain activity about cell phone triangulation requires students to read and summarize 2 different articles over the course of 20 minutes, which we found to be impossible. Because this activity contains very important tasks that support our SMART goal, we decided to expand this activity into a closed reading and writing activity in language arts and science for 2 days. There was no mention of differentiation for this portion of the lesson or any specific guidelines or modeling for the summaries, which would be necessary for ensuring student success. The Elaborate section incorporated a math activity that was completely unfeasible for students to complete successfully. Students are asked to complete a crime scene investigation by identifying cell phone locations using trigonometric functions to triangulate cell phone positions. The idea of the activity is great, but the math standards would have to be adjusted to a middle school level as opposed to their current 11th grade level. The portion of this lesson would be taught during math class over the course of an entire week and would involve Pythagorean theorems so that it aligned with Common Core state standards and grade level objectives. The conclusion activity for evaluating students' understanding of this unit, as written, has students creating a crime scene with what they have learned, and then explaining how the crime scene that they created could be solved using cell phone triangulation. The students have not had enough exposure to writing crime scenes, and there is not enough direction for this level of students to truly demonstrate what they have learned. We changed the activity so there would be more of an emphasis on the assignment and divided up the tasks between language arts and science. In language arts, students would read and analyze current crime scene stories from a local news article with rubrics or guidelines. In science, they would solve each other's crime scenes collaboratively using what they have learned about forensic and cell phone triangulation. This lesson had a number of great components in theory, but in practice did not meet the needs of the target audience of 6th graders. We believe that the incorporation of a little more technology, a lot more differentiation, and the integration of this unit throughout subject areas to allow for more focused approach to each component will allow students to not only master the content of the lesson, but support them in reaching ultimate success in our SMART goal. Essential strategies for all teachers of writing. Throughout the semester, our group found many strategies to help implement the data action plan and process. First, we should make sure that the process is thinking with the end in mind. What do we want our students to accomplish? And how can that help us guide our process when selecting Common Core state standards and correct grade level standards? Every group member decided that the data action plan team should be implemented quarterly and have every team and teacher in the grade level subject-alike team should be involved. Our team also felt that administration should be involved in the decision-making process to help our students achieve success. Here's a collection of resources that we use to support our work for this data meeting. The resources included the Venables text along with an Edutopia article and videos about differentiation, integrated studies, and project-based learning. Ultimately, our team came to a consensus that in order for the data action plan to truly be successful, the team needs to be comprised of either grade level teams so that the teachers can tackle learning gaps across curriculum, or through content level teams so the teachers can address learning gaps with common standards. In addition, the team has to complete the first 4 data meetings with enough time to truly implement all decided instructional tactics and afford them with the time to continue the cycle if the goals were not met. Even though my group struggled at times with how to proceed in our data action plan, given that we all teach different subject areas and grade levels, it has been a useful venture and we have all learned a great deal about integrating writing into all core subject areas. We have also learned a lot about differentiation, integrated studies, blended learning, and how to work as a team.